feel to be back from the international break? You know, you've just had a bit of a team meeting in here, but how are you and the squad feeling?
I'm good. Excited about the game. Excited to have everyone back together today for the first time in a couple of weeks. So, yeah, really looking forward to it. I've enjoyed the way the guys have trained. Enjoyed the time we spent with them. And now, yeah, everything is around getting ready for Saturday.
Is there any team news for us to note?
I think everyone is pretty much as is. Ross Stewart came off against Arsenal and won't be available. It's not a long-term injury, but it's another frustrating setback for Ross. So he'll bounce back as he always does. But yeah, disappointing for him and for us. And then, apart from that, Camaldine is fit now to be in the squad, and Will Smallbone is back as well in the squad. So yeah, there are a couple of positives for us.
Can you chat to us a bit about coming back off the back of an international break? Does it provide like a clean slate, a bit of a fresh start for everyone? You know, the chance to regroup.
I think it gives everyone a chance to work and to have a bit of rest as well, the guys that need it. And then it gives us a chance to really reflect and review on things over the last month or so since the last break. So I think we always try and utilise it in the best way possible. About what's gone well, what hasn't gone well, what we can build on, the positives, stuff that we really need to work on. So I think the process doesn't change. I think the only frustration is then you don't have a game to then put it into practice. So, but it's been a good break. I think we're in a good place after Arsenal in terms of performance and feeling and spirit, and now we have to go again on Saturday.
You touched on Arsenal there, but you've been consistent in saying how proud you are of the team and lots of positives to take. What do you think can make the difference on Saturday and get you over the line?
I think managing big moments better than we have done, and managing tough moments better than we have done. I think the team is growing. I'm enjoying watching the team grow, and I loved watching them. Their response in the second half at Bournemouth, to be honest, I didn't give them enough credit for, because that was a really difficult moment, and we put it on the players at half time to really show that they cared and wanted to run and fight for each other, and they did. And then the game was just too far gone. And then Arsenal, they built on that, the willingness to run, fight for each other, to defend, to take the ball in the second half in particular, and the courage to play football in the way you want to play. I thought they were outstanding. So I'm proud of the journey they're on, but no one cares about any of that if you don't win, so we have to win. And this game is as good as any to get that first win and to really kick us off.
I'm sure lots more questions to come about the weekend, so I'll pass the mic on. But can we also just ask for your reaction to the news about Thomas Tuchel being appointed as the new England manager?
Well, I think he's an exceptional coach. He's got a brilliant track record. And I know there'll be lots of opinion and conversation around him not being English and all of that. We've had foreign managers before in charge of the national team, but if the FA have decided he's the best man for the job, he's the best man. What I would say is I think there's loads of English coaches really capable of doing a job as well. And so I get asked the question all the time about style of play and all this stuff, but yeah, we are English managers really difficult to get the opportunity to manage in the Premier League unless you take a team there a lot of the time. A lot of the time you have to go and get promoted with a team to get the opportunity to get there. So maybe it's not given enough, English managers not given enough credit, or maybe they're deemed not good enough by the most important people. So I hope at some point it'll be really obvious that there's lots of really good English managers around that are capable of doing it. But in terms of him getting the job, I think he's a brilliant manager, and I think he'll do a really, really good job. But yeah, I think it's going to cause a lot of interesting discussion and conversation, and especially the FA, because we have a well-renowned coach education system that people come from far and wide to do, and then we can't appoint someone from that. So I guess that's an interesting topic for discussion. But great manager, he'll do a great job. I'm looking forward to watching his team play.
Thank you very much.
Cool. With Ross Stewart's injury, how's his head?
I think it's natural for him to be really disappointed after his first Premier League start to get injured and for it to be cut short. I think we just have to support him in the best way we possibly can, as we always do. And I think there's no one more upset and hurt than Ross. And then we feel all of that with him and for him. So we just have to support him and bring him back in the best way we possibly can. It's not going to be a long-term injury. I think the international breaks have come at a good time for him, which means he won't miss a huge amount of games. But we just need to, I think, support him mentally and psychologically more than anything physical, because he's had one setback after the other. But we'll do that, and we have a brilliant group of people here, players and staff, to support him, and he knows that. He knows he's loved and cared for, and I think he'll get through it at some point, and these setbacks will maybe still happen, but hopefully fewer and far between. But he'll be supported in the best way possible.
Sort of on the flip side, I suppose, I wonder what effect the goal at Arsenal had on Cameron.
I think it's going to be brilliant for him. I think it will be, the weight will be lifted, because he's had a few chances to score before that. I think he's been really good for us, actually. In his short spell here, he's been a real threat. I think the chances he's had before the goal, probably only he gets, because of the quality of his movement and the speed of his movement. And he's improving all the time. I really love him as a boy, the willingness to work and want to get better, want to help the team. And he just wants to, repetition after repetition, he'll make a mistake, keep going, go again. And I think he's going to be, he's a brilliant signing for us, and I think that will help him, and I think he'll score a lot for us.
And I won't go through every player, but the last time I was here was after Bournemouth, and there was lots of talk of character and personality, and I wondered if Jan Bednarek had particularly stepped up in that sort of leadership role at Arsenal, in your opinion?
I think a lot of them did. I think we have a lot of people that are capable of developing into really brilliant leaders, and we have to enable them to do that as much as we possibly can. I think the one, like the biggest voice we have is Adam Lallana, who's been there and done it, but I think that's always come natural to him, the way he grew up in, the team he grew up in, and you had to have voice, and you had to have character, and you had to have big resilience to get through that. So I think he's helping the others a lot. I think we're trying to enable them. Yanni B has been a big leader for us on the pitch in the whole time we've been here, and he's stepped into that more and more. Flynn Down's the same, and now we need to encourage more and more of them to do it. Joe Rebo does it in his own way. So the more we have on the pitch, the more people we have willing to take responsibility, the better for them and for their careers, and also for us as a group.
And Leicester this weekend, what have you made of their start and their performances?
I think well-coached team. I think it'll be two well-coached teams in a different styles, but honestly the focus has been on us. I think we have an awareness of what they can do, because they put in a really good performance away at Arsenal. Bournemouth at home, they were very good. But our job is to be aware of that and aware of their threats, and also aware of what we can do and what game we need to bring. We're at home. We're off the back of a performance people feel good about in the building, albeit frustrated about the result. And now we need to turn that into a win. So, people keep asking me how big the game is it a 6 point and all that. Every game in the Premier League, honestly, is huge. So I think obviously the previous results will dictate how other people feel about it externally, and the result and all the noise around it. But every game is huge, and the guys know that. And now we have another opposition in our way of 3 points that want it as much as we do, and we have to make sure that we play the game that we want to play as much as we can.
You've played Steve Cooper's sides before. How much of him do you see in this team right now? Are they still transitioning from the team they were last
Well, I think they've got some brilliant traits still from last season, where they were asked to play in a really clear way with Enzo, and they were the best team in the league, and that proved over the course of the season they were outstanding. So they still have some really brilliant attributes and some that Steve's obviously put into his team and allowed them to sort of maintain. And then, as is always the case with Steve and his coaching staff and his team, they're excellent in terms of organisation without the ball, making it really difficult for you and being such a threat on the counter-attack with the players they have. So, I think he's obviously combining both and doing it well, and it'll be an interesting game.
And they have threats everywhere, like everyone does, but Facundo Buonanotte has been particularly influential last couple of games. He was linked with a move here. Is he a player you admire?
He was never mentioned here, so I think there was a lot of players linked here. I've watched him a lot for Brighton over the last year or so before he got injured, and he's a really talented player. But every team in the Premier League has a lot of talented players, and we can sit here and talk about all of them. So I think we're aware of their threats and the talent they have, and I'm sure they'll be aware of ours as well.
Good luck, Russell.
Thank you.
Russell, it was such a good moment when you got to half-time, 0-0 at Arsenal, and then the boys came out with a real spring in their step, and you played higher up the pitch, and Is that how you have to do it in the Premier League? Do you have to see where you are at half time before you gamble a bit more, or can you get on the front foot? Obviously, Leicester aren't Arsenal, but can you get on the front foot from the start at home, particularly?
I think we can definitely get off to a start with a bit more aggression and being on the front foot a bit more. I think it's natural. You're playing against Arsenal, one of the best teams in the country, off the back of a tough result on the Monday night. So I loved the willingness to defend and the box and to fight and all that stuff, but we did it a bit too much in the first half. So at half time is always like our job to try and show them a couple of clear pictures that actually we can be a bit better with the ball, a bit braver, and they were. Between 45 and 60, we were outstanding. I think it's, we caused them a lot of problems. We had some big moments, and I was really proud of the players. And then we score, and if we hang on to the lead a bit longer, who knows? It may be a different game, but we can see too quickly after that. So yeah, there was loads to be positive about, but I don't think we're ever going to go into a game going, let's get to 60 minutes, let's get to half time and be in the game and then see. I do think with the way that we play, the longer the game goes, if we're in it, we have a good chance. The odds tilt in our favour a little bit, is my experience over 5 years, if we are able to dominate the ball and do what we want to do. But in Premier League, that is not easy, so we have to really earn that, and we're going to have to do that on Saturday again.
An achievement, the clean sheet at half time there. You haven't had one yet, of course, in the Premier League, and we know how hard it is to do that. How important is it, though, that you start doing that as a team?
I think, yeah, all of it. We need to score more goals. We should have. We miss, I think, the third or fourth most big chances in the league. We should be on more points than we're on. It's been a frustration. We should have a clean sheet or two. We don't. So we have to make sure we keep doing the right things, keep focusing on the right things, and trusting the work and trusting each other that it will come. And it's always been the case, and it always has come, like it did last season. Even during a difficult moment, you just trust that if you keep working on the right things and focusing on the right things, for us as a group, then it will come good. So I've got no doubt at some point it will, and when it does, we would have earned it and we would deserve it.
It's interesting, Steve Cooper this morning in his press conference was asked about your side and playing football and so on, and he said to have any success you have to be consistent. And I thought that was a nice sort of throw to you, as sort of, this is how you need to do things. You need to have those consistent traits and play the same way to have that.
Yeah.
So,
I think whatever way you play, you have to be consistent with it, or whatever way you behave, you have to be consistent with it. Otherwise, it just doesn't last very long with the players. And so I think one thing we do have is a consistent process, a consistent beliefs system, consistent values in the team, what's important, regardless of who we're playing against. And of course, in and around that, you have to tweak and adapt depending on opposition, the games, the context of the game. But yeah, I think we're really consistent with what we look for, and we've seen actually a lot of it consistently on the pitch, and then just a few moments that have hurt us. And in the Premier League, you can't afford to have that. So we know we need to do that a bit better.
Just on Camaldine, you said he's back in the squad, I think you said. So he's frustrating from the outside because we know gifted, he's got natural abilities. How do we get him from he could be good to he's good? Because that's been the biggest problem, seeing it transferred into a week in, week out thing.
I think like a combination of many things. I thought we got him into a really good place last year, and he got into a really good rhythm, really helped the team, and then got a little injury and it sort of set him back and didn't quite get the same Camaldine back. I think with his attributes, is our job to work out the best way to use him, the best position, the best way to get him the ball, or the best way to make him feel a big part of the game, because he can give you moments that no one else can give you with his athleticism and his power and his pace, and some of the things he can do at top speed are really incredible to see sometimes. So I think it's consistency with him, and I loved the Camaldine we have now in terms of the way he trains consistently is very different to the guy we walked into, and I think he just needs to maintain that and keep him fit. I think that's the most important thing. So we'll have to manage him and use him in the right way over the next few weeks. And then if we can do that and keep him in a good place physically, then we have someone who can really make a difference for us in games.
Just finally, we know it's a big month, and 3 of the 4 games are what people would call winnable. They all are, but that's what people will say. And they'll also say you're under more pressure because that started to come out in the wider media. How do we keep this not about your future, but more about everything it needs to be about?
I think as long as we're focusing on the right things inside the building, we can't control anything else. So I think when you're a manager, you accept that all anyone ever cares about on the outside is results, and then perception and reality are often very, very far apart in football. So, yeah, I think all that matters is what we focus on inside the building, and everyone, of course, will read stuff and all of that. And also, like that, 3 winnable games and all that stuff is never that easy in the Premier League. So we went to Brentford and Bournemouth already this season, and a few questions I was asked before them games, like, it's games that are winnable. These are teams that have been in the Premier League for a long time now and have a really clear way of doing things, and they're there for a reason, and they're good, and everyone's good. So we have to be really good to compete and to win. So I will focus on the same things I focused on for 5 years when I was in the relegation zone in League One, when I took over at MK, to now, and just keep trying to grow this team under the biggest scrutiny. They need to keep growing on their journeys individually and for us as a group, and that's our job to make sure that they can do that. And if they continue growing and maintain the pride in what they're doing and the belief in what they're doing and the courage to do it, then I'm convinced we can have a really brilliant and exciting season. Yes, it's been a frustrating start in terms of results, but I think the team has shown that they can really compete at times as well when we stay us and want to be us. And so I'm still excited about it all. I'm more excited about this game than I have been. I think that's the break, international break. I feel so excited about it and about what's to come, and we need to make sure it's a good month for us.
Okay, we'll move on to the section for 10:30 this evening, George.
Harrison, you're reflecting on the last week or so. What's kind of pleased you most about what the group have done?
I think there's certain things that I think a few players maybe doubted they'd be able to do in the Premier League in terms of being able to dominate the ball in certain moments, or create the chances that we have at times, and just play some of the football that we have and stick to who we are. And I think there was moments where we did that at Arsenal as well. It's going to help the group a lot moving forward. So I'm proud of the way they've stuck together, and the thing I pleased me the most is in here. I think if you come in, I don't think you'd know we're on 1 point after 7 games, and so they are continuing to be themselves. They're continuing to work so hard for us. I think that's all you can ever ask for, and then I trust the rest will take care of itself.
Speaking to Norman Schneider on Sunday, he's speaking about how when they won their first game, when they first came up, it kind of made the players feel like they deserve to be in the Premier League. Is that kind of what you need now to kind of kick onto that?
Yeah, I think, listen, you can feel good about certain things, and some stats will be brilliant, some not so good or whatever, but we have to win. It makes everyone feel better, it relaxes everyone, and I think once we get that win, which we will, then you'll see the team grow even quicker than what it is right now. And so I think it will be a huge moment for us, and we have to do that on Saturday and as quickly as we possibly can.
We talked about the so-called winnable games. I think one against Bournemouth.
I've not called any winnable games. Yeah.
But I think the one against Bournemouth, that people on the outside were kind of saying was a winnable game if such a thing does exist. When speaking to Cameron Archer, we felt that perhaps the players put too much pressure on that game. Has there been an effort perhaps to try and avoid that this time around, if that is something you can
I think we just have to accept honestly that every game in the Premier League is so important, and we're going to try and win every game. Whether we go to Arsenal away, Man City away, we play Bournemouth at home, Leicester at home, we're going to try and win every game, because that's the job we're in. But I think, we have to respect that it's tough, and the Premier League is tough. But honestly, we're going to approach every game to win it, and I believe we can win every game we go into if we prepare right, the mentality is right. And at the moment, is moments that have cost us, and that's the most frustrating thing. And I think we're trying to problem solve as we go along, and I think we've solved a few problems that really hurt us early on in the season. Bournemouth was my fault. I picked the wrong team system for the first half. We changed it in the second half. So really over the course of the whole thing, I've been really unhappy with half an hour at Bournemouth. And then after that, probably 15 minutes against United when we missed the penalty. But other than that, we've been really in games. It's just moments and a couple of mistakes early on, which the lads have ironed out because they've grown into it and they've stepped into it. So yeah, we have to just continue focusing on this game. This is the most important. Then after this one, it'll be Man City, the most important, and it'll be, Stoke and Everton and all that. So we'll just keep working.
You look at the players who went away. There was a reduced number of players who went away this time, but Taylor and Matty just played the one game. Yuki didn't play a game. Does that kind of help?
I think it helps keep them fresh. I think Yuki travelling half the way around the world and not playing 1 minute is probably not very good for him. But yeah, it keeps them fresh for us. So yeah, that's happy days. And obviously Tyler stayed because he's had a few knocks and was nursing something before Arsenal, so it keeps him fresh for us as well. So yeah, they're in a good place.
Let's go about Tyler actually, because I think a lot of people, when they saw at the FA say it was an injury, got quite concerned about him. How is he doing?
Yeah, he's fine. He's fine. So he had a week off his feet of getting treatment and resting, and also like we have to respect and appreciate Tyler's life has changed in the last 6 weeks quite dramatically. So not just physically but mentally, the spotlight he's under, the praise he's getting, and all the interest and all that stuff. So I think we have to take in the mental fatigue as much as the physical load. So, but he was carrying one or two things physically because of the intensity stepped up a few notches for him. But he's in a good place, had a good bit of rest, good bit of treatment. He's dipped in and out of training this week and he'll be ready.
Just two more injuries as well. You mentioned about Camaldine and Will Smallbone being back. I know that's going to be good in terms of options to have, but then you've also got more of a headache in terms of who you select and who you leave out of the squad.
Yeah, this is never easy leaving people out of the squad. I've had some tough conversations today already, but unfortunately it's part and parcel of the job. It's the worst part of the job, that you can take that hope away from some of the guys. But I'm always honest with them, and hopefully they respect that. They won't always like it, but yeah, Will being back for us is really big because he's always feel better when Will's in the squad and he's around it.
And Ross Stewart being out for obviously it's really gutting for him, but I suppose for other people in the squad that's going to be a big chance. Paul Onuachu especially, who obviously came on and kind of played that similar role to him. Yeah,
Paul's been a real breath of fresh air, the way he's trained, the way he's approached it. He deserved to get on the pitch at Arsenal. Trains like an absolute beast. I really love his character and personality, and now he's here and the window's shut. We've seen a really different Paul in terms of desperate to get into the team and the mentality he has. So, and I think he has attributes that not many other people does, and not just his height. He has real attributes that can really help us, and I think he will help us. So yeah, it was good for him to get on the pitch, and now he needs to continue to build on that.
A player who kind of looked like he was definitely going to leave to now someone who's obviously fighting.
Yeah, we had a fair few players that looked like were definitely going to leave and end up staying, but they're all here, so they're all part of it. And I always said we're open to being surprised by anyone and everyone. And Paul's been a real pleasant surprise. He's always scored goals wherever he's been, but he had a tough time here in the first few months. And then last season we came in and he wanted to play in the top league still, and the club was best for the club for many reasons. But since he's been back in, he's been fantastic. So yeah, if he can help us, which I think he can, then it's a real positive.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Nick Neal from The Athletic. You mentioned a minute ago there's sort of bits of some games that you weren't happy with. What's the performance so far this season that has been the most like how you want the team to be playing?
Well, I think Newcastle 11v11, her first half hours we played brilliantly. Arsenal for the 20 minutes after half time we played brilliantly. And I think if you can go to these places and do it in them moments, then really you should be able to go and do it anywhere. So I think Man U for the first half hour at home, the guys were incredible. The only thing is in all of those games we've been on top, the only one we scored first is Arsenal, and then we conceded within three or 4 minutes. So that changes things. If we score first at United, I think it's very different. If we score first at Newcastle, I think it's very different. But we haven't been able to capitalise on the chances we've had, and we've had really good chances in all them games. So yeah, I think is why I can feel so positive and excited about things, because there's been real moments where the guys have shown not that we can just compete, but they can be the team we want to be, which is to try and be as dominant as possible with the ball, to defend with the ball, to be aggressive without it, and just have to keep banging the same drum and make sure that we turn it into results.
You also mentioned the difference between perception and reality. Do you think that your team, well, this team in particular, is perceived like incorrectly, and if so, in what way? Well,
I don't read too much, so I don't know how it's perceived, but I like to get told about a few comments that people make in the media and stuff like that, and I never take it personally in the same way like when we went 25 unbeaten last year. I just didn't pay attention to any of that really either. So because you're only defined by results in this job externally, and then I always find it fascinating that someone can watch 6 minutes of highlights and have a really credible opinion of your team, but you as a person as well, about being stubborn or whatever. And I would always invite them people to come and sit down and have a chat about it and why we would do things if they want to have a really educated opinion rather than an educated guess or an uneducated guess sometimes. So it doesn't really, honestly, I don't know how we're perceived. My perception of our team is that they're brave and they're doing some really brave things, and eventually that courage will pay off. And if it doesn't, then I'll know that we stayed ourselves and we stayed true to ourselves, which I knew would be the biggest challenge at the start of this season, with the amount of questions and scrutiny we'd get because of the way we play and because of that I'm an English coach and because I'm young. So the rest will just be what it will be.
Obviously, you say you kind of don't read much. I think there was an interview with you last year, I think it was, where you said you used to kind of let all that stuff in and you used to let it affect you a little bit. Firstly, was there a kind of tipping point at which you sort of started to shut everything off? And secondly, is there anything that you can do to prevent the players from getting affected by that kind of thing? Because, you know, you mentioned the sort of 6 minutes of highlights. If the players watch someone analysing a couple of mistakes on Match of the Day, there's a danger of that getting into their head and kind of stop believing in what you're trying to do. Is there anything you can do to stop that?
Yeah, so like I used to love it as a player because I was purely driven by proving people wrong. So like my whole career is based on that. And then actually, then when you get booed by your own fans, and quite a few thousand of them at some point, at a place that you've given everything for, it gives you a moment of like enlightenment, I guess, that actually it's all, why would any of it affect me on the pitch at that point? In the same way, how can the people that really matter to me, the people I love, the people I work with every day, my bosses, and of course I have to listen to opinion and sit there and have a proper conversation about things, but anything else I think just detracts energy. So and I think as a leader in any walk of life, your energy is everything, really. So I choose not to focus on any of that, but to be aware of it. It's these guys' jobs to make me aware of some of it, because some of it might be valid at some point if it's a reoccurring problem, you know. But I think with the players, our job is to make sure when they come in here every day, they understand why they're doing what they're doing and why we're asking them to do that, and that we have trust in them to do it. Otherwise, we wouldn't ask them to do it, and that they've done it before since they were kids. So it's something that becomes so natural to them, and actually just year by year, a piece gets taken away from them from a coach who has too much fear or too much ego, or a person in their life that wants to dictate too much to them or not let them be themselves. So my job is the same here as it is as a parent, is to try and maintain that my kids are always themselves, and the same as the players here and the staff, that whatever happens externally, you can look at yourself and be happy with that and know that you've given everything. And sometimes people just don't know where 100% is, and that's our job to make sure they know where it is. And I know that we come in and give 100% to this job every day with the care and love that I would want a club treated with if I was an owner. I think that's all you can ask for, and then the rest is really out of our control.
Finally, I mean, it's kind of obvious point, but certainly for the players that have come in since last season, a win of the weekend will go much more, will convince them that you are kind of doing the right thing. You see these kind of tangible results. So I think it was mentioned earlier that there'll be I don't feel like they belong if they win a game, but it will kind of strengthen your position.
Yeah, I think we've had this chat as a group of people, and it's the guys who were here last year. They know that if you stick with it through the tough moment, the reward is really big, and when you get through those moments, it's the best feeling. So the guys who haven't been here and are new haven't had that yet. So they haven't have enough evidence of that, and that feeling of winning when the moment is tough and you can get through it by doing the work that we do on the training pitch and carrying it out on the pitch on a Saturday. So the sooner they can have that, the better for everyone. The better for them, the better for us. But I also feel they know what's coming. They know why we're doing what we're doing. So we just have to continue on that journey and hope that the team grows enough to win enough games of football.